there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. I've been on hiatus for a couple of weeks and it's great to be back with you today. Today I want to show you a brand new design I call the Bling Rings necklace. This uses the round and round pendant and the wreath pendant that I did in the past. It uses it and kind of makes different sizes and connects them together to make a really pretty necklace. I was looking for something that I could make to wear for New Year's, and this just popped and I loved it. So to make the necklace, you're going to need 120 6mm fire polish rounds. Now I found that the fire polish works best for the base that you're going to be making, but you really can use a pearl or a gemstone, you know, any kind of non-faceted, but really it works better with the faceted. You're also going to need 130 4mm faceted glass rounds. You're going to need 240 4mm bicones, 96 3mm bicones, 11 grams, which is about a half of a tube of the size 11 seed beads. You're going to need one little tiny capful of a size 15 seed bead, a clasp, which I'm going to be using a toggle with a jump ring on one side. And then you'll need 14 to 16 yards of 6-pound fire line, depending on how long you make the necklace. This is a 2-needle project, so you'll need 2 size 10 beading needles. The materials that I have just told you make about a 17-inch necklace, so that'll give you a good idea of how much more you may need for the project. So what you want to do is you want to start out a needle on each end of 2 yards of your fire line. And so go ahead and get your stuff together, get your mat ready, and then we'll get started. So I've started with my needle on each end of my thread, and I have threaded out, I've got counted out a stack of 12 6mm and a stack of 24 4mm. This way I know that I'm getting all the beads that I need on the base for my first ring. So to start out on my right hand needle, I'm going to thread on a 6mm and 2/4. I'm going to let those fall, and then on the same needle I'm going to pick up one 4mm and I'm going to cross my threads opposite ways through the one bead. Now I'm going to put the needles together and I'm going to pull the thread so that it will pull my beads down to the center. There we go. So you'll have a little box of beads just like this. With the thread that is always exiting towards the 6mm, which is this thread, you'll be picking up a 6mm. Okay, so we're going to pick up a 6mm. It's going to be that left hand side. On the right hand side, I'm always going to be picking up my 4s. So I'm going to pick up 2 4s, and with the second 4, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to cross opposite ways through that second 4mm. I'm going to go right through it and pull. So that when you pull, this is what you'll have. Okay, you're going to continue that 7 more times. Or no, 9 more times, sorry. 9 more times. So on the left, we'll have a 6mm. On the right, you'll have 2 4mm. And then you're going to take and cross through the second 4mm so that when you pull, it gives you another little box. So you actually want 11, by the time you finish these little repeats, you want 11 6mm on the outer edge. Once you have your repeats, this is what your piece will look like. And you will have 1 6mm and 1 4mm left. I'll pick up my beads just as normal, so with the inside thread, I'll pick up the 4mm, that's my right hand thread. The outside needle will pick up the 6mm, this is my left hand thread. My threads are crossing opposite ways through this last 4mm right now. So we want to take the needles and cross opposite ways through the very first 4mm that we threaded on. So I'll put the right one through first, and then put the left one through, so that now you have a complete circle. We're going to be adding embellishments to the top of the circle now. On the left hand needle, you're always going to pick up 4mm bicones. On the right hand needle, you're going to be picking up the 3mm. So with the left hand needle, I'm going to go ahead and pick up one 4mm. With the right hand needle, I'm going to pick up one 3mm. Then I'm going to pick up one size 11 seed bead, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead and pull. So that gives me the start of my first embellishment. Then the left hand needle picks up one 4mm, the right hand needle picks up one 3mm, and we're going to take our needles and cross them opposite ways through the next 4mm here in the inner ring. So that gives us our first little embellishment over the top. You want to continue this 11 more times so that you have embellishments all the way around the top of the ring. Once you've added your embellishments, this is what the piece will look like. This is where at this step, this is where the piece is going to be different from the wreath and the round and round. We're going to take the needle that's coming out towards the outside, and you're going to go through a 6mm on the outside. Doesn't matter if you go to the left or to the right. Just remember, whatever direction you start is the direction you have to continue to go through. Now on the round and round and the wreath pendant, we put a little 3mm right here. On this one, we're going to put a 4mm bicone. So you're going to thread on a 4 and go through the next 6mm along the edge. We're going to do this all the way around, just picking up that 4 and going through. Once you've added the 4mm all the way around, you want to go through all the beads on the outside ring once more. Do not pull tightly. If you do, it will mess it up. You just want to go through enough that you are just reinforcing it. So see, you can see how it's looking here. And once you get that, if you have a lot of thread left on this outer piece, you can keep this piece, but with this is going to be our center component, so we can actually tie off this thread and be finished with this one. This is the only one where we're actually going to tie off both threads. All our other components will be leaving one thread for the connection. So I've gone all the way around now, and then I'm just going to continue around to reinforce the outer edge and then tie that off. Now that we've got the outer thread tied off, we're ready to work on this inner part. I'm actually going to take the needle, my inside needle, and just stick it through the open loop. Okay, I just took my empty needle and did that. Alright, let's try this again. I'm going to take my regular needle here on the inside that has thread attached, and I'm going to stick it through the center of the ring. I'm going to flip it around so that you can see it a little better. We want to go through the 4mm here on the inner edge of the piece. It doesn't matter if you start to the left or to the right, but remember, whichever way you start is the way you have to continue. So I'm going to go through a 4mm, and then I'm going to pick up one size 11 seed bead, and I'm going to go through the next 4mm, and I'm going to do this all the way around the inside. This is going to help to just give it a little bit more support so it won't be so floppy. And once you've gone all the way around, adding these little 11s in between each of the 4mm, then you can tie this thread off and you will be done with the center component. Once you have the center completed, as I do here, you're going to make 2 more of these circles. Now, there's a couple of changes you need to make on the 2 more circles. First, instead of having 12 6 millimeters along the outer edge, you're only going to have 10. Okay, so we're bumping the box down by 2 little sections. The next thing you need to change is here on the inside where we've got our little 11s, you want to use a 15 because it's going to be, if you put the 11s in there, it's not going to work. So you'll have to put 15s. Then the third change is when you finish the center, don't cut the thread. We're going to leave the center threads so that we can attach to the 2 smaller ones to the bigger one here in the center. So again, make 2 more components. You want them to only have 10 rings instead of 12. The beads on the inside need to be 15s. And then tie off only 1 thread. Don't tie off and cut both threads. Once you have the 2 smaller rings made, they will look like this, and you can see there is a slight size difference between your center and your sides, and that's what we want. So I'm going to take my first smaller ring that I've made, and I'm going to line it up with a 6 millimeter on the center larger ring. My thread is currently coming out. If I hold them like this, my thread will be coming out to the right. I'm going to pick up 1 6 millimeter, and I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the 6 millimeter on the center component, going from right to left. This will take a little maneuvering to get it through. Okay, now you want to pick up another 6 millimeter. And you're going to go back through the 6 millimeter on the small component so that I'm going to be going from left to right so that it will make a little right angle weave box. Now you want to go through and reinforce this box one more time because those are some bigger beads, so they definitely need to be reinforced, especially since this is a connection between the 2 components. Now I'm coming out of my 6 millimeter on the smaller component here, and I'm going to be using 4 millimeter Bicones. I'm going to pick up a 4 millimeter, a size 11 seed bead, and a 4 millimeter. I'm going to take these beads and I'm going to go through the 6 millimeter opposite where I'm coming out, and I'm going to go through it so that my beads will lay at a diagonal. So right now my thread is coming out to the right, so I'm going to go through this bead from left to right, so that way my beads will lay at a diagonal. Just like that. Now pick up a 4 millimeter bicone, go through the size 11 seed bead that you just added, and then pick up a 4 millimeter bicone, and you're going to go through the 6 millimeter on that smaller component so that when you pull, it finishes out that little X shape that we need. There we go. And you have the large component now connected to the smaller component. So you can tie off this thread here, and then you're ready to connect the component to this side. Now when you connect the component, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see. I've connected here. I'm going to skip 2 6 millimeters on the outer edge and then connect to the third. So they'll be connected here and here. So again, I'm connected here. I'm going to skip 2 6 millimeters on the outer edge, and then I'm going to connect my second smaller piece to the third little 6 millimeter there. Once you have the middle 2 connected to the centerpiece, then you're going to make 2 more. These are only going to be 8 around, so that you'll have 12 around in the center, then 10, then 8. The thing to remember is, remember I told you on the outer edges, when you go back to reinforce, don't pull it tight. It's especially true for these smaller ones. If you pull these smaller components tightly, what's going to happen is it's really going to cup up and not look good. So you want to make sure not to pull these really tight. And as you can see on the connections, they are connected exactly across from each other. These are even numbered of circles, so they will attach exactly across from each other. Once you have the whole centerpiece done, then you're ready to add the sides. So I've got 2 yards and I've got a needle onto each thread. I'm going to center the thread in the 6mm opposite where I connected my last little circle. You want to pick up 1 6mm onto each thread, and then pick up 1 6mm and cross your needles opposite ways through that bead so it forms your first little box. The next box, you pick up 1 4mm onto each thread, then pick up 1 6mm and cross opposite ways through that one bead. To make a 17-inch necklace, which I'll be making, you want 8 total boxes of sets. So what that means is that this is one little set. Now on each needle, I'll pick up 1 6mm, then I'll pick up 1 6mm and cross my needles opposite ways through the one bead. Then I'll pick up 1 4mm onto each needle, and then pick up 1 6mm and cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead. So now I have 2 sets, 1 and 2. So let me double count this. Let me show you actually what you're doing here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yes, 8 total sets. So what you're making is the base for the embellishments of the side of the necklace. So go ahead and continue until you have 8 sets, or half the length that you're going to need for the necklace, because this is the center. So if you want, say, a 16-inch necklace, you have to have 8 inches on each side. So you will continue until you have enough length on this side for the necklace. Once you have the strip completed, this is what it will look like. I'm going to come to the very end of the cord, and using 1 needle, I'm going to make the clasp part of my necklace. So I'm going to pick up 3 11s, 1 4mm, 3 11s, the first part of my clasp. Now I'm going to use a toggle, and on the toggle I put a jump ring. Then I'll pick up 3 11s and take the needle and go back down through the 4mm that I just added. So I'm going to hang on to that and pull this down so that this is what I have. Then pick up 3 11s and go back through the 6mm you were originally coming out of, so that when you go through it, your clasp will sit directly above your 6mm. You can get it centered there. Now take the other needle, and you're going to go through those beads again to reinforce it. You can reinforce this once, twice, it's completely up to you, but this is going to be the clasp part, so it needs to be reinforced, at least added and then reinforced. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the embellishments down the sides. One more note before we move on. If you want to, you can use the wire protector here like I do in a lot of my designs. I just didn't on this one since I'm making the little loop of seed beads, but you do what is going to work best for you. Now you're ready to add all of your embellishments. So the first box I have going down is what I call a small box. This is a small box and a large box. On the small box, on each needle, you're going to pick up 2 11s. Pick up one 4mm, and you're going to cross your needles opposite ways through the 4mm. Then with each needle, you're going to pick up 2 11s and cross them opposite ways through the next 6mm here in the center. So I pull one and then the other through so that it makes my little embellishment over the small box. Now the large box of embellishments is going to be one 4mm onto each thread, and then you pick up one 11 and cross your needles opposite ways through the 11. Pull that down. Good gracious. What in the world do I have going on here? As I like to call it, this is just a hot mess. What in the world? There we go. Okay. So got that. Now, one 4mm onto each needle, and you're going to cross opposite ways through the next 6mm in the center. And you can do the whole thing as a 1 needle technique if you feel comfortable in that, or you could do the center, this whole center part down here, as a 2 needle, and then this whole side as a, the sides as a 1 needle. But you're just going to repeat doing your small box and your large box embellishments all the way to the bottom, and then you'll tie those 2 threads off and do the same thing on the other side. So once you get the second side of the necklace complete, then you have your finished piece. And this is what it looks like when you actually wear it. It's really, really pretty, really sparkly, and it's very... to me, it's lightweight when you actually wear it, and it's nice and cool. For people who get really hot, these fire polish beads are nice and cool against your skin, so that's what I do like about it. We do have 2 color options for kits available on our website, which is offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. It is this matte silver with the opal AB, or we also have the gold, the matte gold that has copper and gold for the crystals, so you can see it's really, really sparkly. We also have the pattern available, the step-by-step pattern, on our website, again, offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this new video, and be sure and come back on Monday for our Must Know Monday videos. Have a great week. Bye-bye.